Hey everyone, it's Erica. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have a layout for you using the You and Me cut file from the Cut Shop. This is a newer cut file that was released, and I went ahead and backed it off camera, and I used the Jelly Bean Garden Harvest collection. I just used a bunch of the papers in the collection, and I'm going to go ahead and flip through the papers that I have and show you the designs that are included. And I love this paper right here. And then here's one that I used to back my file. I used both sides of this one. Here's a cut apart sheet. And then I used some of the cut aparts to back some of the letters in the file. And I love this purple color. And then this paper here with the butterflies, and then all these great sayings here can also be cut apart and used on a layout or any project. So those are the papers from the Jelly Bean Garden Harvest collection. I also have the ephemera pack and the washi strips. So I'm going to open up the die cuts and place them in this little white bowl that I have sitting on my desk. And there are a ton of pieces in this pack of die cuts. Some flowers, some sayings, hearts, stars, all kinds of great pieces to embellish with. So I pulled out a piece of white cardstock that I'm going to use as my background. And then I also have this piece from the Garden Harvest collection that I'm going to mat the white piece of cardstock on. I'm going to trim down this white piece of cardstock so that I can mat it on the black pattern paper. And then I'm going to start to add some color to my white background. I'm using American Crafts Smooth White cardstock. So I'm going to go ahead and do some color here, and I'm going to start out with some Tim Holtz Distress Oxide and Fossilized Amber. Now while I'm doing this, I am going to mess up, or I guess it's not really a mess up, but I start with this Fossilized Amber, which I like, and then I pull out some Heidi Swapp Coral Color Shine, and I add that to the paper. And sometimes when it's not mixed well, I don't know if the color like separates or what happens, but anyway, I applied it to the paper and it just left like water spots with no color. And I didn't like the way that looked, so I'm gonna pull out another piece of American Crafts white cardstock and start over. And I end up not using the Heidi Swapp Color Shine and find a different color. So there is that Heidi Swapp Shine right there. And it just left some watermarks with no color, and I don't like that, so it's going to get removed, and I'm going to pull out a fresh piece of paper and then start over. And I forget to trim down there's my fresh piece of paper, the paper before I start adding the color, which is fine. I just trim it later on in the video. So here I am again, starting with the Distress Oxide and Fossilized Amber. I also pull out some Abandoned Coral Fossilized Amber, and then a Distress Ink and Seedless Preserves. And I'm just applying the ink pad to an acrylic block, adding a little bit of water with a paintbrush, doing some splatters, and then taking the acrylic block directly to the paper and smushing on some of that color. I'm trying to match the color in the cut file, just to add little splashes of color behind each letter. So the Abandoned Coral goes pretty well with the Y in the cut file. Other colors that I pull out are some Heidi Swapp Color Shine in Chartreuse, and then I have a Shimmers No Yoking that I also use around the Fossilized Amber for some splatter. And then I have a color, it's a Color Splash from Amuse Studio, which I don't think they're around anymore, but it's a mermaid color, and they're I liked their sprays because they dried kind of like a matte finish, so I use that as well. So I'm just going to continue to add color to my white cardstock. I did not add any gesso or anything like that to the paper. It doesn't warp too much. I didn't add very much. There's not a whole lot of mixed media going on. It's just some splatters and some direct, you know, the acrylic blog directly on the paper, so it didn't do too bad. The only part that warped up a little bit is when I take the Heidi Swapp Chartreuse and spray it directly on the paper. That did add a lot of liquid, so it does kind of warp up in that part of the paper, but not too bad. I was able to stick it down pretty good when I matted it to the black pattern paper from Garden Harvest. There, I'm just showing you the Chartreuse Heidi Swapp Shine. Gonna add some splatters and then some smushing, and then I do spray the color on to a square acrylic block and smush that down, and it does leave a pretty harsh line that I do not like, so that's when I take the spray and spray the paper directly to try to hide that. You can, in the end, when the cut file and all of the die cuts are put on, that splat of color is covered up pretty much. So I just keep going back and forth and adding more color, and then putting my cut file down just to see, just to make sure that I have enough color coming out around the file that you can see it. So there is that block, and I can see that line. It probably would have been fine because it would have been covered up with embellishments anyway, but I went ahead and added that splat right there just to cover up that harsh line, and I kind of like that better. So I'm going to add a few more sprinkles. I do add some adhesive to the back of my cut file, and I just use some foam tape from Scotch. I have a tape roll here, it's pretty thick, and I just add a bunch of adhesive to the back. So here I take my Tombow tape runner to the back of this white cardstock, and then I realize these are both 12 by 12. Not gonna work, I need to trim this down. So I carefully put this into my trimmer with all that tape adhesive on the back and trim it down so that it'll fit nicely on the 12 by 12 pattern paper. So once I get that stuck down to the paper, I'm gonna go ahead and start putting adhesive on the back of my cut file. I will make sure to leave the cut file You and Me linked down below for you guys. So if you're interested in grabbing this cut file, there are also a few other cut files that were released with this one that are pretty awesome from the cut shop, so make sure you guys check them out. Again, Ashley did move her store from an Etsy shop to a storefront, so you guys make sure to go ahead and check out the new shop, and all cut files are now 99 cents, which is pretty awesome. So I got all of my foam tape down, and I'm gonna go ahead and stick this cut file down to my background, and then I'm going to start doing my favorite part, which is embellishing around the cut file. I love sticking little bits of die cuts and embellishments around the cut file, sticking out from the words. So I'm just pulling out some of the pieces that I think I'm going to use in this layout. So I pull out a bunch of the florals and some of the wreaths, some hearts, some of the sayings. There's some awesome script words in here as well in this pea pod pack. I believe that's what they're called, pea pods. And let's see, jelly bean die cut. I believe it's pea pod parts. I have the packaging right here, but it's ripped. So I'm pretty sure that's what they call them, but they are the ephemera packs. So there's a ton of pieces in here. There are 66 pieces in this die cut pack. So I'm gonna go ahead and start placing these down. And I usually don't add adhesive right away because I fuss a lot with my die cuts on the placement. So I kind of just stick them in where I want, and then I'll go back through with some Tombow mono adhesive and then glue them down permanently. And sometimes I will add the Tombow wet glue and then also a pop dot to kind of pop them up for some more dimension. The photo that I am documenting is of my husband and our daughter Alyssa, and these photos were taken, I believe, 2011, and I printed it in black and white. So I'm just going to continue to embellish around the page. I love the colors in this collection, the Garden Harvest collection. They're so pretty. I love the purple. They're just like rich, beautiful colors. There's great florals in here as well. And that paper that I backed the M letter, I absolutely love that pattern paper. It's going to be perfect for fussy cutting those flowers out as well. I have quite a bit of that pattern paper left, so I'm going to do that and fussy cut some of those flowers out. So I'm just sticking down my embellishments now. I love these little butterflies here. And what I like to do with these is just add adhesive to the center of the butterfly and kind of pop up the wings just to give the page a little bit more dimension. I'm also going to pull out one of the Scrap and Happy Studio epoxy hearts, and I keep these on a binder ring and I just punch holes on the top of the packages. That way I can easily flip through and pick out the embellishment that I want to use. So I'll make sure to leave these linked down below for you as well. These are great little embellishments to add to your pages, and I love that she came out with the little heart-shaped epoxies. So I'm going to add the epoxy here that says you and me. And that pretty much finishes up my layout. This layout went by really, really fast. Last thing I do is add some journaling, and I do that off camera, and I just use that with my, I do that with my We Are Memory Keepers typewriter. So I'm going to share, oh, I do add one more thing, sorry. The Bella Boulevard Illustrated Faith epoxy or the enamel hearts. I have so many of these. I love these. I love to add these to my pages. Because the photo is black and white, I wanted to add a little bit more black to the page, so I used the epoxy hearts or the enamel hearts. So there's some close-ups for you, and then I have some still shots coming up. I'll leave all products linked down below for you guys. Thanks so much for watching. The blog post for this is also linked down below. I hope you guys head on over to the Cut Shop blog and check that out. Thanks for watching, guys. I will catch you in my next video. Have a great day. Bye.